Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Bias. To be honest, I don't know what episode this is. I haven't looked. I still have one more video I have to upload. And this is a day after I already did that, the last video with my brother. Um, Unfortunately, we didn't get to talk about too many things that I wanted to. Not a bad thing, we just went over, talked about different things, a little more lighthearted. Um, but yeah, something that has been on my mind after watching another podcaster, streamer, whatever they're called nowadays. Um, and I think it has something to do with what a lot of people are experiencing right now. I think the saying is experience precedes essence. And I think a lot of people are getting that confused. They might even think experiences are what or yes, experiences define us when really our existence what defines us, and that is kind of like the our foundation. That's really the only truth. um I believe so far, even with how this conversation's going, the existence itself is what's real. The experiences, everything inside the box changes. And even with the Alex Preddy thing going on, he was murdered by ICE agents at a rally in Minnesota. Um, Excuse me. If you can hear a noise in the background, it's because my dog is laying on the bed. But as I was saying, it's a terrible thing what happened to Alex Preddy. Um, and I think a lot of people are letting outside factors define them instead of their actual existence, which is full of experiences. But I do think the truth itself needs both to exist. If that makes sense. But I've been seeing videos. I saw a video of the dude. There's an Antifa guy. I'm sure everybody has seen that video. I doubt I'll be able to pull it up. Really, I might be able to. I don't know exactly what I would look for. I apologize for the dead air. My computer isn't working with me. Okay. Self-described Antifa I was going to say antagonist. Agitator issues chilling call. I think as far as, I don't know if this man has much credibility, especially starting a whatever, a mob or anything like that. But I think this is a pretty good example. Why am I on Yahoo? Of essence is defining this person. He is identifying with everything inside the box. And I'm not saying you should even define yourself as the box. But the fact that the box, enough of it is there, allows you to be present. And all it is holding things, not you. So I don't know why Google's being so difficult, but I do wish I had someone to talk to about all this. That's what I would prefer doing, but nothing wrong with speaking into the void. Hopefully we can get some volume.
I'm Kyle. I'm Antifa, and everybody.
Hopefully you can hear it. Oh my gosh, everything is so difficult nowadays.
In my DMs and calling me and blowing me up. I love all of you. I'm Kyle.
Hey Kyle. You fucking weirdo. I'm kidding. Not really. Kind of. Let's see. I'll cut the camera on.
I'm Kyle. I'm Antifa, and everybody in my DMs and calling me and blowing me up. I love all of you. I understand that the women who see this are really scared that their husbands are going to go and not come back, and that's real, and I am very sorry, ladies, that is what is happening. But I don't understand how you're struggling to follow that they're going to keep killing us if we don't end this. And we can't end this without good men in the streets, armed and ready to protect innocent people from being gunned down by these masked murderers, these fascist occupiers. I need boots on the ground, and I need them prepared to do what needs to be done so that this does not cost more innocent lives. We do not have any more time to let this drag out. I know it sucks, but this is the Iron Front. It's an individual choice. There are no generals in this fight. Stand on your own two.
The weird thing.
Viva la resistance. I'm going back to the streets.
The weird thing is there's so many ways to handle a problem. To handle anything in life. And Kyle truly believes that everybody, the good guys, whatever you consider that, every one of them identifies with them. And I noticed immediately, it's kind of interesting. I'm making a pitch deck, an investor pitch deck for a company I'm working on. And the first thing you do is identify the problem. And this isn't exactly how you do it. You can do it however you want, but generally the first thing you do is tell a story, quick, fast, open it up, a title, and then you identify the problem. You identify the solution. Talk about the industry, available market, the entire market, timeline, what you're doing right now, where it's going. Throw in a few more numbers. That's what I'm doing anyway. And then team slide, the ask. It's interesting how his pitch to join Antifa or whatever, kind of identical to an investor pitch deck. There's contrast, some kind of continuity between that. And it reminds me of, there's this video of this guy who, it's a funny video where he finally gets to heaven and he's talking to God and like, man, I did what I was supposed to do. I did everything I was supposed to do. And God's like, no, man, you were supposed to be the best juggler in the world. Excuse me. You were supposed to be the best juggler in the world. You had it in you the whole time. You were going to revolutionize uh, the entire industry, everything. And, I think I don't think you're supposed to live your life agitated 24/7. And if you are, first thing you got to do is look in, see if you can identify what is upsetting you. And if it's if it's an outside influence, most of the time it's a projection of something going on inside. Maybe you know exactly what you have to do. You're conflicted. I'm not a therapist. I don't know exactly what Kyle's going through, but um, I don't think I think with the mentality he's bringing to the table, there's no end. There is no end to what he wants to accomplish. And there's a better solution. Of course, there's always a better solution, especially for um, ICE and how everything's going down. I do try to keep in mind that, whether it's Democrat or Republican parties, no one likes working together. Each side loves conflict because all it does is suppress the other side and solidify their base. It is interesting with the whole, you know, seems like Democratic news media, not even the people, are, they're the whole Second Amendment thing. It's like it's on the opposite side right now, and all it is a headline. Everything's a headline. Everything's for show. Um, if you take a step back, no one's ever that concerned. No one's ever more concerned than the media. And that's just because they want you to freak out. They want you to consume only them from sun up to sundown. And I do think that's the beauty of things like this podcasting. I know I've never been anywhere. Uh, I don't have a degree in sociology, psychology, or political science or anything like that. But being able to talk about things you don't know is how we begin to understand. And I don't know if Kyle's done too much talking with the other side. I think, and this is just thinking out loud, but I think he does more of the talking and not much listening. People talk to talk, and then some people talk to communicate. Um, but no, I do think what I wanted to say, maybe not specifically with Kyle, but a lot of times things we want to be are rarely the things we're supposed to be. And once you give up, and not necessarily in a bad context, but once you give up that thing you're pushing against because you feel you need it, once you give that up, you realize the universe starts pushing you in the direction you belong. And you don't have to like it, you don't have to not like it. It's just goes back to that existing precedes essence. Um, you don't have to identify with anything at the end of the day. And that doesn't have to be good or bad. It just is. And people think, a lot of people, we all do at times. And we think we deserve to be happy, or other people deserve to be sad. We deserve to spread truth. We deserve to be teachers. They deserve to learn. But I think a lot of it is a push and pull of gifts from the universe, and being of service to it. Um, and at the foundation, at the core, is discipline. And, Kyle's probably extremely disciplined in what he does, for better or worse, depending whose side you're on. But, uh, yeah, I guess the moral of my whatever I'm talking about is don't let someone else put you in a box before you put yourself in a box. Do something different every day. Watch things start to fall into place. Everybody else will continue to tell you who you are, um, and do the identifying for you. And it just gets easier and easier to listen to the noise without getting agitated. Um, I don't know if I made any clear points about my views. I guess really quickly, um, I do want to talk about some solutions to everything. I think the best way to go about it, and I've heard it from the PBD podcast, is I can't remember. I think Tom said it first, but why not just focus on the red states first? States that agree, and will hand over the documents or the identification of people, and do what they're asked. Because at the end of the day, blue states, the other team, however you want to look at it, conflict works in their favor. You know, whoever sent those guys, Alex, out to the protests or whatever, whether something good or bad happens, leverage. On Trump's end, whether something good or bad happens, it's leverage. So if you want real progress, if you want to really get something done, why not work with your side first? Work with the people who want to work with you. But they're not talking about you. You're doing something wrong in a lot of politicians' eyes. So I can see why that's not happening. Should people be kicked out of America for coming over illegally? I was thinking about it today, and the crime always happens. I mean, the law is always established before the crime because it's not a crime without the law. So I think that's a reflection on change is possible. If you want the law to change, we have to work in that direction. Maybe, pass a bill or do whatever you got to do, but things will change over time. It's inevitable. Change is inevitable. If you came in here legally, there's a legal way to do it. I do believe that process should be followed. I also believe that there are a lot of lazy Americans who are living off the system, and there's a lot of immigrants who contribute a whole lot more than they do. And maybe they're being targeted, maybe they're not. But it doesn't change the fact that there is an issue that needs to be resolved. And what I don't agree with is when someone who identifies with the immigrants gets into a position of power and only wants to take care of them and not the American people. I know that's kind of hot thing to say. People won't necessarily agree with me, and maybe extremes on both sides will agree and disagree. But I don't think that's the right way to make change. Maybe it is. Maybe it's inevitable. Maybe it's a product of people taking advantage of the system for so long. Being an American politician taking advantage of the system for so long, there's bound to be an outside influence only trying to take care of where they're from and their people. But I don't know exactly how to handle it. We can speculate. That's exactly what you have to do is talk about it. But I think becoming American should be easier. I think everyone should be looked at, or any immigrant in America should be looked at and see how much they're contributing. What are some, maybe they're doing everything an average American is doing, and all they need is a little bit more help getting documented, signing up for taxes, just for their work, and then at that point you can hold the businesses accountable, and they'll start having to tax their employees, which is kind of the root cause. There's a lot of companies who need this, and people in power want to stay in power. So why on earth would a business owner with money want to, why would they want to support a party that is keeping them from making even more money, gaining even more power? There's probably a better way to phrase it, but um, a lot of people will say Americans don't want to do that job. If you never give them the opportunity, you'll never see results. And money talks. So pay them more. I'm willing to bet there's plenty of people who would be willing to do that job. But if you keep taking the stance that these are the only people who are willing to do that job for that pay are these immigrants, that's not making anybody's life better. Other than the bare minimum of them being able to stay in a country undocumented in fear all the time. But if you raise the wages, find everybody who's already living here, help them get that next step. If there's anybody who's in trouble with the law, okay, go ahead and send them back to their country. Um, I think that's pretty fair. Instead of just being an extremist on either side, saying you know everybody deserves to be here, or absolutely no one coming in through the legal way should be here. Um, I think either side is a fool's errand, and not really gonna create or generate anything positive. And also, I believe most of the people in power, after a certain point, I wonder if you guys hear my dog snoring in the background, because I can hear it through the phone. But at some point, I'm sure there's a lot of people who pass that threshold, and from median income to wealthy, possibly even the 1%, and they probably, for better or worse, stop identifying with their country of origin, and they become more worldly, and they start to realize that we're all just one. We're all a people, we're not necessarily Americans, Mexicans, Canadians, Europeans. We are of a people on a planet. The more money you have, the more you're able to explore, realize we're not that different, and we are very different in many ways, but I think everybody's way more similar than we give ourselves credit for. But a lot of those people who get to that level have companies, and there's that line where they don't have to set an example. They can just continue doing what they're doing. They can be, in many ways, selfish and create generational wealth, but nobody holds them accountable because they line the pockets of the politicians, and the politicians get the media to agitate the people, and we think it's us against them in terms of just the everyday people, when in reality there's so much more going on behind the scenes that we forget about. And just because someone with money funds a rally that we support, they're at the very least doing something good for us, when those guys are all in a board meeting at the end of the day talking over how they're going to make even more money. And I'm not anti-capitalism. I think it's the only thing working right now, and what we need is a better version of it. I don't think socialism, I don't think any of that's going to work. In my opinion, capitalism become decentralized. And I heard Russell Brand talking today about how the states in America need to be more decentralized. And I don't agree. I do to an extent. Um, I think I was thinking about something the other day. It's kind of like the taxation without representation. Decentralization without representation is doomed to fail. There needs to be a representative in the decentralized, in the chaos. And that's what I think the beauty of the United States is. It's federally under one power, and then independently each state have their own abilities. So it's already decentralized by and large compared to every other country in the world. I think the decentralization needs to be less about the people being decentralized, and more about and less about the government being decentralized, because it's kind of a broken system. And the biggest problem is we've people have forgotten that they are the government, and because it's full of lifelong politicians, family politicians, um full of CEOs. The politicians are leaving Congress to join companies. The companies, that part has gotten so entwined with one another that we've forgotten that the people are the government. It is already decentralized to an extent, um, because there really is no central. That's how people are. That's how you're. It's able to be so lucrative in terms of business. The decentralization, I think, really needs to be pushed against the companies, because I think that's the a big problem with government, with even communities. um Walmart, for example, has completely destroyed town squares, the markets, the marketplaces in person. um Everything you need is there, but it's centralized, and we forget about that and focus on government and us yelling at each other. Amazon, soon companies like Tesla, social media, it's already it's so far removed from decentralized, pulling our own data from us. We're giving them everything they need. Um, but I know I mentioned the LLC, or the company I'm working on. It's an LLC as of now, but the idea is decentralized capitalism, and I am excited to see how far it goes. And I know I probably gave Kyle a lot of shit, but I do believe there's so much potential wrapped up in all of us, especially Kyle. And if we just give up that the idea we have in place for ourselves, really just let go of it. And it's sometimes the hardest thing in the world. The universe will give us everything we didn't know we needed, um, and more possibly. So I think the passion alone from either side, whether it's Kyle or Nick Fuentes or something, anybody being extreme, the Tate brothers or whatever, those people, those individuals are knowingly or unknowingly back to back of one another, screaming down hallways, and neither one of them are listening to each other until the media picks it up. The media's all over the place, framing themselves as the middle voices, but all they're doing is projecting the far extremes that are back to back, and they don't even realize they're in the exact same place. And the only people who really suffer are the ones in the middle, surrounded by the media, who's amplifying those extremes, because they just hear they're in the muddy water. They're hearing the mess of everything, which is a blessing and a curse, because if you do just maybe not even ignore the sound, but appreciate what you like and don't like from both sides, you can start to flesh everything out and filter through the noise. But that was about we've been talking for about half an hour. I think that's all I'm gonna do for today. Just because I think that was some pretty good content, context, whatever, especially just for a solo one. Hearing my dog snore in the background, making me a little tired, but I've been up for a few hours so far. Been up since 3, laid in bed for 30 minutes, went to the gym, 4:30, got back 5:30, left at 5:30, got back 6, 6:30, started the pod. Started it at it started it at 7:30. Yeah, so been a good morning so far. I'm gonna continue working on the business. Y'all go check out the if you want the landing page is remiforartists.com, remiforartists.com. Feel free to sign up. It's a music marketplace designed to streamline the entire music development process. Right now, it's going to be the MVP. We can only go so far with decentralization, but it will accept crypto. Smart contracts can be created. We also accept fiat payments, between artists, but it's a marketplace and a few other things I don't want to say out loud. But if you check it out, let me know what you think in the comments below about the podcast, whether you agreed with anything I've said, whether you haven't agreed with anything. Doesn't matter to me. I'll read it. I know we don't get many eyes on anything, but discipline, one day at a time. I look forward to speaking with you guys again. Have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless. Until next time.